And we are live.
You might want to change the title because it says Q&A session number 1. Just saying.
All right,
Okay.
but we are live.
Whatever. Good evening, Stuyvesant. This is your Student Union Communications Director, Michael Espinosa, here tonight for your second monthly live Q&A session. I'm joined tonight by none other than your Vice President, Tahseen Chowdhury. Tahseen, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. We're starting a little late tonight because I was out getting Amazon Fire tablets for our live escalator monitoring system. So course is being made on that. So hopefully we'll get to talk about that later during the Q&A. How are you, Michael?
How am I doing? I'm doing all right. No other. Can't think of a better place to spend my Saturday night. All right, let's get right into it, shall we? First question. Why are school store regular prices so high? Is there any way to make the apparel more affordable when there isn't a clear-out sale?
So school store prices are when the Alumni Association and the Student Union work together to set the prices. Most of the time, the price is set based on the cost of the items. So we're actually not making too much. We're not in the business of making a substantial amount of revenue, so we're not marking up our items too much. So I think the reason that they are expensive or they are priced the way that they are is because of the cost that we endure when we make the purchases. It's not really because we're trying to rip you off or anything. And I also think that like when you go into the actual numbers, the prices match up generally well with like most other places. So it's generally more expensive than apparel you would get at like at a store that mass produces apparel, and even then, where our prices are pretty similar. Also compared to like the cost of crew necks and styling hoodies, were pretty similar, if not cheaper than most. So I think our pricing is pretty reasonable. But we are working with our vendor, and we're looking at other vendors to decrease prices. In fact, I have a meeting this Thursday with the Alumni Association, the Parents Association, the vendor that we use, and the principal to figure out how we can restructure the school store to make sure students are actually going to the school store to see things that they want to see, and to make sure that they're affordable prices and people can buy what they want to buy.
All right. Next question is, can we get an update on what each caucus is doing?
Yeah, so I'm looking at a master project update sheet that might have been updated recently. It looks like it was updated 2 weeks ago or a week ago. So I'm going to be telling you what the caucuses are working on from this sheet and from what I know from most of. So the freshman caucus is working on a winter dance. We recently just approved the budget. They seem financially stable and they seem like they're ready to get started on that. I have a meeting with them tomorrow morning where we're going to discuss what their plan is and how we're going to execute on it. So that should be fun. The freshman caucus also has a variety of other projects they want to work on. So one of them making sure people can come in earlier from lunch is another thing they're working on. The sophomore caucus recently just finished their lost and found project, which is very nice because the lost and found is much more organized. I think people are enjoying that. They're also working on restructuring the phone policy. That's something that I'm working on with them side by side to really just like get a phone policy structured that is better for the student body and not really intrusive in terms of like what the administration wants. So that's that. They also want to decorate the sophomore bar. I believe we're in the process of allocating a budget for that, so they can get on that. Also pushing for a change in the lunch policy where students will be able to come in a little bit earlier for lunch. That is something that we're currently working on and should be done within the next couple of weeks. if the students want it. So what we're first going to do is we're going to survey the students to figure out whether or not they actually want to do something like that. If they that, then we'll go about executing on it. If they don't want to do something like that, then we'll have to essentially back off. So it all depends on what the students want. Last year when I tried to do this, most of the students said that they didn't want to do it. And the reason that you wouldn't want to do it is because there's a cutoff point for when you can leave and when people start returning. So if we change it from 5 minutes to 10 minutes before the end of the period, 10 minutes before the end of the period, and a lot of people still leave around that time, and they want to be able to leave around that time, which is why people end up saying no. So it's really just going to depend on what the students want at the end of the day. So that's that for sophomore caucus. For senior caucus, they've actually accomplished a lot recently with their printer and a variety of other projects. I think the next couple of projects for them include school spirit days, along with a library book drop machines, and a couple of other things. They seem people are very satisfied with the projects that they've been working on. I think they've been working pretty well in terms of getting things done. And the junior caucus. So junior caucus just finished one of their college trips. I think they're working a second one. In addition, they just finished their pep rally, which was a huge success, from what we can tell. So that was a job well done. They're currently working on purchasing prep books. These prep books are going to be sold to the student body. They already have a budget approved. We want to sell through the school store. It's just making sure the school store is stable and set up. We need to make sure that they can sell through there. Once that's all set up, we should be good to make that purchase, and we should be selling prep books in no time. Here's what all the caucuses are doing.
All right. Next question. What is our budget and how much, on average, is given to each club?
So, on average, we give a couple of $100s to clubs, maybe in the higher hundreds. We actually haven't calculated the number for that. In terms of what our budget is, the Spectator did a great financial analysis in partnership with the SU Financial Department, so you can look that up and essentially look at our budget from the past 3 years, how we've allocated money to clubs, and how we want to move forward with club money. For some reason, the spec website isn't working for me right now. I'm sure they'll be able to get that up in no time.
Hold on, is it working
But
for me?
that's where you would be able to find the data. Is it working for you?
It's loading, so it probably isn't, because it would have loaded by now. Anyway, next question. What's the status of being able to use phones on the half floor / near printing stations?
All right, so I don't think it's something that should be too hard for us to do, because a lot of people want to do it, and because we have the ability to print from our phones, it would only make sense that they allow us to use phones around that area. What I would suggest is printing when you're at home, or printing when you're right outside of the school, and then just picking it up. I would suggest when you're walking into or the guidance office and using it there, if they allow you to do so. So those are a couple options you have. You can also print for the cafeteria. The senior caucus is something that is the caucus that's going to be pushing this, or really wants to push it, so it shouldn't be terribly hard for us to get that done. I think it should take a couple of weeks. It's definitely on our to-do list, and it's definitely something that we're going to get done.
Okay. Is there a way for there to be more ID scanners in front of the building in the mornings? I'm assuming that's referring to the crowding it gets in the morning. And why do escalators keep breaking down? I'm not asking you to fix them, but just give me the reason they break down so that it can be avoided. The students will know. So that if it can be
Okay,
avoided.
so with scanners, I think I don't know how we'd fit a fifth scanner. I know when I'm walking in, a lot of the students just like tend to go to one scanner and then they don't go to another scanner. But so like if you're walking in and you notice that there's another scanner right next to you that's being used, just swipe in with that. So you're not holding back the entire line, and it's very much monkey see, monkey do. So if you're the person that initiates the movement there, everyone else will follow you. So do that for now. I'm not sure if we can really fit more scanners there, just because there might not be enough space for more scanners. But in terms of escalators, so the escalators are a really big pain. An update to the code every 4 years, or on average every 4 years. New York State updates their escalator code, their escalator safety code. So this year they decided to have it have it be a requirement that every 10 feet you have a safety switch in the escalator. So what they're doing is they're going through every single escalator and they're pulling out all the stairs and installing safety switches every 10 feet. Um, that is obviously such a pain because it takes 2 weeks per escalator,
Yeah.
2 to 4 weeks, depending on um, the escalator, what floor it's on, and I think they have different models of escalators. I don't think they're all the same. So it varies, but it's the safety switches that are the problem. So we're not breaking off them. That's why they're closed for a really long time. You might remember a couple of weeks ago, there was a ton of congestion between, I believe, the 5th and 7th floors, where like kids at the stairs would just stop and wouldn't be able to move. We talked to the custodians and we talked to Otis, which is the company that's installing the safety switches. They had one team per escalator doing it. Now they're going to have two teams per escalator, so the installations will go much quicker. We should be done within a month and a half. So it's going to be a month and a half. It's going to take a while. Another reason why escalators break, people initiate the safety switches. So I expect escalators to start breaking more often because there are more safety switches. So if you're jumping in the middle of the escalator, before it was only if you're jumping at the bottom and the top. If you initiate a safety switch in the center now, the escalator is going to stop moving. So in the future, there will be more escalator breakdowns because someone initiates a safety protocol by jumping or standing at the bottom of the top. Another reason escalators break is because someone drops something there. It tends to be a coin, and once they drop the coin, the coin doesn't always go in, but people don't pick it up, and then it's in between the crevices of the two stairs. And then what has to happen is Otis comes by. They have to open every single stair and find what part it damaged in the escalator, then order that part and replace that part. So it takes forever. So reasons why escalators break. Prevent them from breaking. So if you see someone drop something in the escalator, pull it out and take it out. Uh, also, you will just have to bear through the safety protocols because that's just like a code update that we have no control over. What we're hoping is the escalator monitoring system, once it's up and running, will be able to give us data as to when escalators break down. Then we can go on security cameras and figure out, go to when they break down and figure out why they're breaking down. And then we can find ways to prevent those issues. So if it's like I remember a couple of years ago, there was one person who made it a goal to break 1,000 escalators within their time at Sky, and kept on breaking escalators, and we had to stop that person. If it's something like that happening again, we could tell. We could punish kids that do it on purpose or for fun. So it's a long there's a long list of reasons as to why escalators will break. And the breakages will get worse because of the safety switches, but we're working to take that down with the escalator monitoring system, which should be up in a couple of months. Sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. Next one's another long question. Whenever Mr. Vargas is in the cafeteria, he yells at all the people to clean up 10 minutes before the end of the period, and forces us to leave when the warning bell rings. This is unique to the periods that he, quote, moderates, and makes it an unpleasant experience for everyone in the cafeteria. Is there anything you can do to make Mr. Vargas less toxic? Also,
Okay.
why do we have to leave the cafeteria at the warning bell?
Okay. I'm going to take note of that, and I'm going to figure out why that's happening and what's supposed to happen. He makes you clean up 10 minutes before the end of the period or 10 minutes before the warning bell.
It says 10 minutes before the end of the period, so 5 minutes before the warning bell. And
Okay,
then makes
before.
everybody leave at the warning bell.
And this is only when he's
Yes,
writing, not like.
it says this is unique to the periods that he, quote unquote, moderates.
Okay.
And if you could tell us what period that is, that'd be nice. So we can.
Yeah, Yeah, that'd be nice. If it's something that's only happening when he's there, not a good thing, and probably something that he needs to like. So someone needs to speak to him about. Yeah. Is there anything we can do? Yeah, we can figure out what's going on and why it's happening, and we can stop it. Hopefully that'll be fixed soon. I took a note of that, and I'll talk to Ms. Damasek, Mr. Moran, and Mr. Contreras, whoever I need to talk to make sure that this gets fixed.
Okay. When are we going to be allowed to sit on the benches on floors 3 and above?
All right. So it's a complicated reasoning. So the reason you can't sit on floors 3 and above is because there are classrooms there. There's less security, and kids tend to get loud when they're up there, and that disrupts classrooms. Sty is built out of like marble and brick, and like it really just makes the sound go around the building much faster and much louder. So like the echo is much stronger on floors that are higher. So a lot of times students are just sitting there quietly and doing work, which should seem okay. The rule is you can't be up there because once students are allowed to be up there, they become too loud. For quiet study zones on the higher floors, so you could be there and you could study there. But there are a couple of steps you should take first. So first of all, there's a problem with the library. The library should be the go-to study zone. So what we're doing is we're working on finding an extension of the library where we can a place where there isn't anyone moderating the library, but also there's someone that's going to be. There isn't anyone moderating the extension, but there's going to be a quiet study area. We're going to see how the students react to that, whether or not they do well, how quiet they are, how loud they are. After that, we're going to look into other possible spaces that can become quiet study zones. We have a list of zones that we want to. After that, we can talk to the APs and figure out if they're willing to do a test there. We're going to run a test for a couple of weeks, and we're going to see if students are quiet there and students are willing to be quiet and not creating a hectic environment. Then we can start opening up more zones. So it's a step-by-step thing. It's going to take a while. It'll take, I don't even know if we can get it done this year. I wouldn't be too optimistic. I think we can get a couple of steps done, but it's one of those it's like the going out for freeze thing. You have to start. You start with seniors, then you go to juniors, and then you go all the way down to sophomores and freshmen. It takes a really long time. That was a 10-year battle, but we got it all done. This is a battle that we've been fighting for years. It's like we know what the steps are now. We've started. We have a potential extension space that we're looking at right now, and we're looking to start that up within the next couple of weeks, but we're not 100% there yet. I wouldn't be too optimistic about opening up all of the floors. It'll definitely take some time. So just I'm sorry, but it'll take some time. All of these things take time because you have to build trust, and students sometimes they take they take things for granted. So the goal is to make sure that the students don't take things for granted, and that we can show the administration that, like, hey, I know we were like this, we were loud and annoying before, but we can be quiet if you were award this to us. So it's a privilege. It's a privilege we're fighting for. It'll take some time, but we'll get there. I wouldn't be too optimistic for it to be this year.
All right. Next question. Why can't we go outside second free as well? With a lot of exclamation points.
So a lot of people have first and second free. Second free is an entry point. More students, like comparatively to third period, a lot more students come in second period. So it's not something that I would advocate for, because there's so many students in relation to the number of students that want to go out. So like with third free, there were about 25 students that were coming in third period, but there were about like a couple hundred students that wanted to leave for third period. With second period, it's a couple of hundred students can come in, but only like 10 to 50 max, I would say, or have the ability to leave during second period. So it wouldn't be possible for us to like really to maintain that structure that we have for third period for second period.
Okay. This next question was asked by a freshman, and it's a really simple one, so I'm just going to answer it. Those inspection posters that you found in the boys' bathroom, they're not real. They're just a prank. We're gonna move on. Well, the next one's also kind of lighthearted.
Awesome.
This sounds like Max, honestly. Are we going to have an event soon where we can display our talents? Something like, I don't know, a talent show? This wasn't me, I swear.
I'm not the status is on that, so we're in doing that. The Stipes SOS is a town show, so you can contribute to that show. Whether or not the SU will hold a town show, we're not sure about that, because theater time is very valuable. There are a ton of STC shows. There's Sing, there's SOS, Style Squad, and they all book the theater very early, because there's it's like you have to practice there and you have to have the show there. So if you're gonna have one production, you'll have to book it for like a month. So it's very hard to get the theater. So we'll have to figure out whether or not it's possible to plan it, whether or not we have the time to plan it. But if we don't, there's always a Steps and Outlet showcase that you can contribute to.
Okay. Is it possible to open school doors before 7:30? Or at least have a way to know that they will open at exactly 7:30? Because let me just add my personal
So usually,
2 cents here, which is
go
that
ahead.
I will say I don't think it's realistic for them to open at 7:30, but like the past couple of weeks, they've been really lax, and they've been opening it at like 7:40 or 7:50, and it's really a pain because like the bridge gets super clogged up. So is there anything we can do about that?
Yeah. So at 7:30, they should be open at 7:30. That's like the policy that's been set. It's getting cold out, and it's going to get colder. So students are going to suffer if they're like waiting even 10 minutes outside, because like waiting 10 minutes of the train is worse enough. Their waiting is even worse. Last year they were very prompt in opening at 7:30, which wasn't too bad. Before 7:30, I'm not so sure about that, because that's when like 7:30 is when the union contract says that all the security is supposed to be in for people to be let into the building. 7:30. So the goal is to get students in at least 7:30. If they're opening up 10 minutes late, it's not a good thing. If the bridge is packed, it's a fire code violation. I'm going to have to come in. at 7:30 a couple of days because I come in very late. It's not a good thing.
That's why I added my sentiments. I know you come in. When do you come
Yeah, I come in around like 7. It varies based on like how I'm feeling.
in?
It's
All
complicated.
right.
Okay, if I like stop by to get food somewhere, then it'll take me a little bit longer. It all depends, but basically, I'm going to start coming in a little bit earlier to see if this is actually an issue. Um, and if enough students bring it up to me, I'll go talk to Mr. Moran and figure out why we're opening up so late. And I'm sure he's willing to fix it, and I'm sure there are some issues that they're having too, because it's a fire code violation to have so many people on the bridge just stuck there. It's not good. Um, so hopefully we can get that resolved soon. Uh, it shouldn't. Really should not be a problem. It honestly should not be a problem, and it shouldn't be too hard to fix either.
Okay. Um, would it be, this is actually a good question. Would it be economically beneficial to stop all escalators permanently and make them stairs? If you're spending that much money on repairs anyway, dot dot dot.
Well, um, okay, so a couple of people have mentioned outside of Stuyvesant, within the Department of Education, they've mentioned the possibility of removing the escalators and replacing them with stairs. Much support. First of all, we have a budget allocated for this, and I'm not sure if the Department of Education budget, community's budget, can be reallocated to other places. So, like, if we were to stop all the escalators, which first of all, I don't think people want to stop all the escalators. Secondly, I highly doubt that we'd be able to reallocate that money somewhere else where it actually be beneficial. The facilities budget is pretty stable. Budget is pretty stable outside, and when we have problems in relation to bathrooms and other facilities, we can fix them. So stopping the escalator wouldn't necessarily benefit anything else. So, for one, I don't think people want to do that. For two, I don't think it's beneficial because it's not going to be allocated to anything else, anywhere else where we actually need support. And three, I just don't think it's a good idea, and I don't think too many students want to like stop all of escalators. And we're not really spending too much money on repairs. These are installations that have to happen if we have them there. And I also think it'll cost more money to replace them with stairs.
Okay. Quick question. What's your favorite color?
Favorite color? It's probably going to be blue. Not like a
So
not like a dark or light blue, just like a generic blue.
all right. Um, Next. Oh, this is a good one. I'm just a lowly freshman. What can I do to help out the SU?
All right, so we have applications almost all the time. If you shoot me an email, I'll send you our application. Uh, that application has like a variety of options or places where you can submit uh, a request to join a position. I know we have like think tank positions open, and I know we have a couple of other positions open. We always have positions open because we're such a large organization, and people are always asking for more people to help. So you can definitely contribute to the SU. How you want to contribute, you get to pick based on what's open and what's not.
Okay. Here's a okay. Can we make it so that we can bring coffee into school? Because there's no difference between coffee in a thermos and store-bought coffee in, hold on, question got cut off. Store-bought coffee, and I just want to stay awake in class. Very noble
All right,
effort.
so here's the difference. Store-bought coffee tends to be in a cup that can open up easily, so when someone falls, the coffee spills everywhere. Also, you have to throw that out, so like there's a ton of trash, and students are more like incompetent with the ones that they bring in. They're not very pro opening that up, so that's why I would suggest bringing your thermos with you and just like pouring the coffee in there or something. You can stay. That should be like a good direction to move in terms of staying awake. Um, So yeah, sorry about that coffee issue. Um, Letting students in with coffee, it shouldn't be impossible, except we're not sure how many students will come in with coffee and what the how we how we go about like coffee, whether or not there would be spills. This isn't a project that I'm actively working on. I know that it's a project that a couple of caucuses have mentioned to me. If enough people are, I'll talk to my executive advisory council. If enough people want to push for this, then this will go on the official policy change to-do list, and then it will get done over time. It'll probably take a couple of months to get there because you don't want to bombard the administration with requests for everything all at once. You want to go one at a time, slowly. It's done, is working, then you move on to the next one because they really can't handle all of that volume, and neither can we essentially.
Okay, last one for now. So, guys, if you've got a question, please submit. Um, this is okay. You often mention your list of projects. Will we ever get a look at it?
Uh,
Are you
I'll
gonna
list
show
them
it
out
right
for you.
now?
I'm not gonna show it. There are a couple of things that I'm not gonna show.
Can we
Let me
get
see if this thing
highlights?
loads.
Oh,
Well,
so it's on a Google Doc too.
it's it's on Google Keep, which is where I keep all of my notes.
Yes.
Um,
I use it too. It's really useful.
I always have a top priority and then a list of things underneath that.
Okay.
So for like the last month, my top priority was the printing station,
Which we got
and
done.
that got done. Uh, the way the SU works is you have a bunch of departments, and we have an executive team to execute on projects. So we're constantly working on different things all at once. I have a priority list, so whenever there's something that I think really needs to get done or should get done, I will focus all of my time on that, and I'll let my executive team take care of most of the other operations. So everything gets worked on, and then I pick it up from there and I make sure it gets done. Essentially, I have a lot of experience working with administration and cutting through red tape, so I can get done. I can get things done much more quickly than other people, but I can only get it done one at a time. So the idea is everyone else builds everything up for me to a point where I can just pick it up and move on. So when I say everything is being worked on, I actually mean everything is being worked on. It's just that I haven't gotten around to picking it up and putting it there. I like and you can't really have everyone cutting red tape all at once. It's just not possible. Usually elected officials tend to do that. So that's how the SU runs. Right now, my top priority is the escalator monitoring system. As soon as that's done, I'm going to move on to other things. But the escalator monitoring system, and also another thing, which is opening up an extension of the library and then opening up all the floors. That's like my top priority list. Well, also my top priority list is the school store, although that's lower than most other options. My list. Where's my list? Oh my god, where's this list? Stupid list.
Oh no. Can you how long is it? Like, can you remember?
If anyone has ever seen me with my phone, I have a couple of things you guys have mentioned here. I know with all right, so escalator monitoring system matches gym uniform, phys ed policy, having phone hotspots. Phys ed policy has a PSAL sports and phys ed
Yeah.
10-3. And then phys ed uniform policy, opening up the floors, escalator monitoring system. I already said that. And a couple of things that were mentioned here, a couple of things that I'm not going to talk about. I don't want to,
Okay.
or I don't like. Yeah.
Can you talk about then? Can you talk about the PSAL and the gym freeze? Because I mean, I heard it at the cabinet meeting, but the minutes doesn't exactly go too in depth into it. And I'd imagine, since a lot of
All
people
right.
in this are in sports teams, they'd want to know what you're planning.
So we're in the process of we've already drafted out a policy proposal, and I have a couple people working on editing it, making sure that it's very fine-tuned and we're covering all ground. Essentially, the hardest part is operating this at STI because there are so many students in PSAO sports at STI. But the idea is you would have the ability to, if you're in a sports team that practices 5 times a week, and you have, then for one season, you'll be able to get excused from phys ed if both the coach and the teacher are used to it. You'd still be programmed for the class itself, and you would have to renew that exemption at the start of every marking period. Once you use it once throughout your year, you can't use it again because that would just be like, we don't want students to go the entire year without phys ed. It could work out. If we're missing like 10 to 15 students per class, it'll be much harder. But the idea is like students that don't really need phys ed or know about phys ed well enough can essentially focus more time on academics, whereas students that are within their sports teams or students that need the attention in class get the attention that they need. It's a win-win for a couple of people. It might not be operationally, and it's very hard to do that stuff because. So right now we're going through the data to figure out how many students are in PSAL sports teams and how many of them would get affected in the class. And once we go through that data, to figure out whether or not this is a reasonable proposal. So if the number comes out to like, hey, 20 kids per class are going to miss class, it might not be a good thing. If it comes down to like, hey, 3 or 4 students are going to miss class, that could be something that we could work with. So really, just like it's whether or not the numbers add up. The excuse has for a while from the administration has been the numbers don't add up. The problem with that with the administration is that they don't really know whether or not the numbers add up, or based on their experience, they can tell whether or not the numbers add up, but it's not always necessarily accurate. So like Max and Lazo, when they were trying to open up the 3rd floor, Mr. Moran had told the numbers wouldn't add up, and they had to go through and analyze the numbers themselves to figure out whether or not it would work. And they proved that it would work, and the administration went for it. So if we can prove that it will work, and if we propose a reasonable proposal, we should be able to work on it. That covers that. Michael, I can't seem to hear you.
Okay, sorry. I had the switch on my mic. Okay, next question. It's actually not a question, but a couple of comments about the website. The task force link doesn't work, and the calendar is blank. I'm assuming you need to forward that to the IT department.
1 second. Let me see.
The
task force link.
While you were talking.
Oh.
Yeah, task force doesn't work.
All right. The task force link is not working. I'm going to talk to them to fix that link so we can recruit task forces. So that's one. What was the other problem?
The calendar. It's blank.
Yeah, the calendar's blank because we're just like, I don't know.
I mean, something like our cabinet meeting, since that's open to the public, that should be.
Yeah. Let's get okay. Calendar. It also says that it's not viewable to the public, which is not good. So it might be just that it's not public. So okay. We also actually have a public meeting calendar that we might want to publish. No. Okay.
Want to publish that?
Okay. Communications. Can you guys figure out, or can you just create a calendar with like SLT meetings, SU cabinet meetings, and any other public meetings that we're going to publish?
PA?
PA meetings, maybe.
Because we're the student union.
We'll talk about this. We'll talk about this later, but this is something that we should update. Is that cool?
And
Awesome.
that's it. So, I don't know, do you want to stick
All
around for
right.
like 2 more minutes, just in case?
If there, I don't know, man.
You want to like go to sleep or something, or do your work? I feel you.
I want
mean,
to
everything
eat
else
because
is.
I just got home from work. I don't know. Are there any other questions?
There are none. I mean,
Then we'll.
there's how to not fail biology without studying, but I don't think that's something you can answer.
What's the question?
How to not fail biology without studying?
How to not study? You have to study biology to pass.
That's what I
Trust me, because I'm taking my second. I'm taking biolab techniques right now. Or you should take that. You should take that elective. That elective is very fun. I really, really like biolab techniques. You have to study bio. You have to study bio.
Okay. And yeah, that's it. School store, club, phones. Oh, did I asked you, right? What's the status of being able to use phones on the half floor / near printing stations?
The half floor, no. I don't think they're gonna allow you to use the phones by the half floor. By the way, if we're gonna open up phone usage, it should be for the entire school or a massive amount of the school. Because once you centralize something in one area, all students go there, and that just creates a very bad scene. So the half floor probably not. The printing station maybe yes. That anything else that would. Okay, awesome. Have a good night, guys.
Have a good night, guys. This is your director and vice president signing off.